What was it that stood out particularly for them in
Uh,
terms of positive?
yeah, I think there were a couple of things based on that. And I think this is where having that head-to-head doing real work made a big difference as the key differentiators for us anyway. The language that we were seeing come out of Lagora in terms of whether it was edits or drafting language or comparisons, the language we found to be more nuanced and sophisticated, related to the types of work that we were sort of running through it. So that was one big piece. The other one, and this is something that my team explicitly tested for, was that validation piece, right? Like that's the part that keeps lawyers nervous about using generative AI, but how do we make sure that it's correct and coherent and relevant? And so want to make sure that any platform we put in front of our lawyers has really, really solid validation functionality so that they can check things with confidence. And the thing that stood out to us from Lagora was that it was, one click to be able to see what the source information was. But they went a step farther, like when, for example, when the lawyers were using the drafting tools to suggest language, here's a provision, make it more pro seller or more pro buyer or whatever the scenario was. Lagora would give you the example language or the recommended language, but then it would explain its rationale. It would explain the analysis. And that stood out for us for two reasons. One, because we could understand and become more confident that the application was behaving the way we would want it to. But also, we see that as a terrific training opportunity as associates start to be introduced to the platform. I think that's one of the how do we help grow associates into tomorrow's partners. And so being able to have a platform that, helps sort of jumpstart the answer, but also explain, what the thinking was behind that answer, we see as a real useful opportunity from a training and development perspective as well. So I think those were the two big things that stood out to us in terms of a functionality and feature perspective. And then the last piece, and this is what really jumped out to my team, was the training and support and sort of implementation planning framework and resources that they had at the ready out of the gates. It was clear as we talked to them that they were learning as much about us as we were learning about them. And when we got to the point of the pilot and asked them, all right, based on everything you've known about us, how would you approach a rollout and an implementation? And they came to us with really great collateral. And, it's not the planning's not done yet, but it was clear that they really understood what we were looking to accomplish and had that sort of framework for us to go with, as opposed to starting from a blank page for that implementation process. So those were, I think, the three really big things that stood out to us.
That's awesome.